some of the screens, I can see some people outside. That's great. So Denise, you look comfortable outside. Good to see you. And Nicole's out with her dog. That's great. So, all right, nice. What I'm going to do is I just got a couple opening remarks, and then Lorraine and Angela are going to come on for some updates, and then we're going to bounce right to Mark McCauley from Great East Mortgage and Joanne Gogan from Great East Title for some updates for everybody. And you know, one of the things I want to kind of touch on real quick is that in the states, New Hampshire, Maine, and Massachusetts, where we've been classified as an essential service, you know, I want to make sure that we just keep reminding ourselves about why that's so important. Is housing, right, is one of the main underpinnings of a stable society. And right now, more than any other time, our jobs are important as people are needing housing, as people want to be settled, that we take that trust that in this particular case, the governors, right, and our customers and clients have put in us. And I think you guys are doing such an amazing job meeting the needs of our customers under, you know, some adverse conditions, obviously, right? These are not normal times. And I was thinking about it yesterday, that I think maybe sometimes, you know, when you're in the midst of doing everything day to day, you know, it's easy to kind of forget while you're busy doing your job, how important your job really is. And so I just wanted to make sure that I said that to you guys, and that, you know, that again, as we're busy meeting the needs of our customers and clients, that we just take a minute and be thankful and appreciative of the trust that has been put in us, not only by our customers and our clients, but our governments, to make sure that we're taking care of people's, you know, housing and shelter needs at a time so critical like this. So I applaud everybody for the great work you're doing. And I just wanted to make sure that we, you know, remind ourselves of that, and give yourself some pat in the back for doing a great job under some pretty adverse conditions, okay? You guys are all super special. And, you know, all of us really, you know, I've said this before, couldn't imagine going through a difficult time like this without such an amazing group of people, all of us here supporting each other. That said, I'm going to turn it over to Lorraine and Angela.
Thank you, Chris. Angela, just jump in first if you don't mind. I just have a couple of things. I really liked what you said, Chris, and I think that's such an important point about what we are trying to do by virtue of these calls and by creating that COVID-19 page, is because we have been trusted as an essential service, what we need to do is make sure that, and I'm going to use Joe Palmisano's words, I really liked when you said this, Joe, was we need to make sure that we are now trustworthy. We need to make sure that we are following the guidelines and performing the way we've been asked to during this difficult time. So that's what I feel, you know, is most important in having these calls and in creating the web page that we have and all the resources that we have, is we want to make sure that you all have what you need to be out there doing what's asked of you on a daily basis, but particularly within the confines of these guidelines. So if there's ever anything that you need that we don't currently have, please let us know. And wanted to just let you know quickly about a couple of things that we've put in place over the weekend. You'll be seeing today in our bulletin this afternoon some new features, one of which is, well, you'll see them when you read them, but one in particular I wanted to let you know about is we've created that COVID-19 page that's for you and has all the guidelines, but also on our Masiello.com page, we have information for consumers, and we've written some blogs in there, and we have just a personal note from Chris and some things on there that are more consumer facing. And you actually have the ability to add that page onto your site as well. So all the information that we're pushing out to consumers you can very easily add that right into your own website so that you are helping to spread that word to consumers and helping us get the word out about that we are essential, that business can still go on and within these certain parameters. So be watching for that. It's just a couple of clicks on your end, or your business support specialist can help, we can help if you want to have that information on your site as well. I think it's important, the more helpful we can be in allaying fears that consumers have and making sure that we're getting the right communications out, the better off we all are collectively. So that is, the instructions are coming today, very easy. And we also have, I'll let Angela speak to the other things that are coming out, but I just want to iterate again, if there's anything that you need in any of this, just please don't hesitate. We're here. Okay.
Super. Thanks, Lorraine. I think that is so cool that you can share stuff to your agent page from our page. It's like, yay, what a neat thing that you found.
I forgot to mention, I'm totally going to interrupt you, that anytime we add anything new to the company page, it would automatically feed through to your page as well. So that all that current information, you just have to change your settings once and then you're staying current. This doesn't affect any other custom pages that you may have created, doesn't affect your site at all other than to deliver this one page worth of content. Sorry.
Pretty cool. Thank you so much. And please feel free to jump in. I feel like we do a lot of this together. So yay. And thank you so much for everything that you do. So Pump is changing up, guys. We've got a new name for it and I just love it. It is Stay Strong and Be Ready, right? So stay strong, be ready. Because you guys are doing a great job right now. And we're going to give you content and tasks, weekly tasks to do now through to the end of May, right? Because you guys that are keeping at it, that are out there, you're touching your sphere, you're doing these things, you're going to be first out of the gate, right? You are going to be ready. When the market starts ramping back up, you're going to be there. So this is going to be super important that we stay engaged for these next few weeks. So with that, we've got some tasks this week that you guys are going to take on. One of them I'm just going to hit on is going to be something that's going to hit into another program that we have coming up called Ready, Set, Sell. And there will also be Ready, Set, Buy, right? So Ready, Set, Sell for sellers, Ready, Set, Buy for buyers. And that is going to be to help anybody wherever they are in the process, right? So if somebody is ready to sell right now, then great, you grab them and they can go and you can do that with them. If there are things that they need to do to get ready, right, then we're going to have that on the page too. So a lot of good things. One of the tips, we've got 10 tips of different things to do for your home. Is it clean out your closet is the first one, Lorraine? Right, so there's going to be a graphic for clean out the closet that you're going to post to your social media and you're going to tie that back into the Ready, Set, Sell page. So a lot of cool tools that marketing is coming up with for you guys. We'll be sending this out to your sales directors every Friday and they'll be reaching out to you guys on Monday with their take and directive on how to implement it for your business. So real cool stuff. The last thing that I have for you too is Mike Gelinas, Ed, and I got together over the weekend, and with Maine and the new directives that we have for the coming out from the governor, right? We have to have booties on now when we go into a house, and gloves, and some really cool safety precautions, right? Because we just want this to be a good and safe process for everyone involved, okay? And so we are doing an initial order from the home office for all states, okay? So Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. All offices will get a small initial order of gloves and booties. It really is a cost of doing business, guys. So I know a lot of you are out there buying your own gloves and booties and keep up with that, right? But we want something to tide you over if you're having a hard time getting yours in. So with that, back to Lorraine if you've got anything else. If not, Chris, Ed, you're up.
The only thing I would add is that we're also developing communication that will help you get the word out to your buyers and sellers for all these safety precautions that we're taking, just so that they're aware that if somebody is thinking about selling their house, that we are very sensitive to what their concerns are, and these are the steps that we're taking.
Awesome.
Okay, great. Nice job. Are these designer boots and gloves, or these just run-of-the-mill, medical grade?
We have special glitter ones for you.
Well, not for me. Not for me. No. Well, let's say we're Nike. Maybe if they were Nike, I would take them. Right. Okay, great. Nice work. Okay, so Joe and Mark and Ed. Now, lots going on in the finance world, lots going on in the title world with e-signatures and all that. And also Jim Fleming will jump in as need be. So Joanne, why don't I turn it over to you first and let us, walk us through what's happening with closings, e-signatures and all that.
Sure. Thanks, Chris.
Joe, maybe just introduce yourself too, please.
Well, thanks, Lorraine. I will. So, hi, everyone. Joanne Gogan with Great East Title and coming to you from my den in Gray, Maine, staying safe. And Jim is on the call. I see Jim dialing in from his home in Manchester. So lots happening in the title world, and it's interesting because things had been moving pretty quickly with transactions. So we had always been doing mail away closings, e-signing documents with clients, and then we ran into this, time we're in now, and it was pretty wild for a few days while we began securing our platforms, if you will, on how we were going to do closings in this environment. So, the first thing that we're doing at Great East is we're taking every transaction and looking at it individually. What are the needs of the clients? Where are the clients? And how can we best put everyone at ease and conduct the closing? And so it happens in a number of ways. In the state of, I'll start with New Hampshire. When the governor put into effect Executive Order 11, authorizing remote online notarization, we were overjoyed because that immediately took the playing field and made it very safe where we could meet. And we've done a number of these closings. Actually, Mitch Fleming in Southern New Hampshire leads the team in doing these. He's helped out some others on the team. It's really safe. It's really easy. We send the documents to the clients in advance of the closing, affording them the opportunity to review. We get on a video call with the client, their agent, and our notary. We conduct the closing just like we would sitting in a conference room. The customer overnights the documents back to us, and we adhere our seal. Now, there have been times, for instance, in Keene, Michelle has been with the client. She was waiting for her seal to come in, so she just does her thing, sends it into Bedford, and we adhere the seal. That makes it really safe and easy for any customer that wants to sign as a group. The by mail closing, I'm sure many of you have experienced. That happens in a number of ways. We overnight documents or we email them to the client and they sign in front of a notary, perhaps making an appointment at a local bank to meet with a notary, and they send them back. It's DocuSign is a platform that we have used for a number of years. And we have had clients signing in advance of closing on cash transactions for quite some time. It's actually really nice because they can review the documents, privacy of their own home or office or wherever, and then have a conversation with us offline. Our team has done a phenomenal job of individualizing our service. The closing team, they are making phone calls to all of you when you have your transaction in our pipeline, just reassuring you that we'll take care of the closing safely. They're also calling every buyer and seller to reassure them that however they want to sign documents, we will get the closing conducted. And, you know, it's given us a chance to use our, time and talent to help calm people in a time where a lot of people are anxious. Mark's team at CMG, and I'm sure Mark will talk about e-closing. they have an opportunity to share an in-closing platform with some customers, and we're able to tap into that and support that platform as well. So really, we see our role in all of this in, easing anxiety and just reassuring people that we will do everything in our power to keep them safe. But also, we have the joy of helping people realize that closing and finalizing either their sale or securing their shelter. So it's really heartwarming right now to see what's happening, and thank you all for giving us the opportunity. We do have an advocacy effort underway in the state of Maine to try and move forward with remote online notarization. Some of you may have seen this weekend Danielle DeFelice. She is our title manager in York County. She was interviewed by the NBC affiliate, did a phenomenal job advocating for the governor to put into effect an executive order like New Hampshire. We have not really run into any issues other than some slight delays because people might not be able to print the documents or, meet with us. We have had very little delay in coming from lenders with regard to closings that are taking place. I'm sure Mark will speak to the lending landscape. And what we have had is increased guidance, however, from our title underwriters, the insurers, on some of the fraud risks that exist right now. And you think about it, how many, there's 200 of us meeting right now. We're meeting on Zoom. So Zoom, there's guidance, and I believe Lorraine sent that out in terms of how to conduct a safe video meeting. But we also receive guidance on, phishing and making sure that we're keeping our passphrases safe on some of the platforms we use electronically. Those are things that I would encourage you to share with your customers as well, because think about it, a lot of people are increasing their screen time, and with that, we want to make sure they're safe. And I sent out a bulletin 2 weeks ago, I guess it was, that had come from the FBI with some consumer guidance on just being mindful of some of the fraud schemes that are out there. The title side has, been interesting. I know Jim's on the call. We've had a number of things pop up that actually some of our best practices have helped to ensure that there were no issues, like the new title summary that we launched early this year has saved a few deals from some underwriting quagmires, right, Jim? Oh, Jim's muted.
Yeah, that's right, Joanne.
Hey Jim, just real quick. So just for those of you who haven't met Jim, right? This is Jim Fleming. He's our partner in our title company, Grady's Title, and also our company attorney. So.
Hi guys. Yeah, sorry, I didn't introduce myself. Joanne is 100% correct. In many ways, we are conducting business as usual. We're in the title insurance business. 50% of all claims, dollars written by the title carriers, are a result of fraud. In reality, we are ever more vigilant looking for fraud. And of course, we could not do that alone. We work with our partners. As Joanne mentioned, our underwriters, our insurance underwriters are critical to proper functioning of the title industry. And of course, they work with the Treasury Department, the FBI, the Secret Service, and so the fraudsters have really come out of the woodwork. If we're accustomed to waking up in the morning and see who got hacked or phished, and even the Defense Department has had trouble protecting itself. Who are we? So we rely heavily on companies that are publicly traded companies, very well heeled. They spend millions on security. Our primary underwriter, Stewart Title Guarantee Company, actually oversees our trust accounts on an hour by hour, actually on a real-time basis, minute by minute, transaction by transaction. And we're constantly on the alert for fraud. We've seen 3 instances in the past week. I personally had somebody try to phish my phone. And then we had a phishing email. And then we just had something out of the Bangor area that was, when I saw it first thing this morning, clearly, and Joanne hadn't seen it either. I sent it to Joanne, and we were both like, "Are you kidding me?" Somebody was attempting to, in my view, most likely commit a fraud upon us. And so I guess the one thing that I would caution you in these times is fraud is not new in the title business. But it's they're becoming ever more creative, and when you see, if you see buyers coming from Asia in particular, your radar should go straight up, because more often than not, in fact, I'm sure they're out there, but typically they don't get somebody from Hong Kong buying property in northern Maine. What they were trying to do is get to our trust accounts, is what, and so just be vigilant for people who are acting funny, asking you to do things out of the norm. As the company attorney, I've said for many, many years, anytime somebody tries to push you to do something, you push back and you just stop. You don't need a deal badly enough. You're not going to make in a real fraud. You're going to work for years to pay that, in return for that one commission that you got. So just be vigilant, and know that that's our job too, to be vigilant and to watch your transactions. And that's what we at Great East Title do. We don't just close loans. We underwrite to make sure that their titles are marketable, or merchantable as they call them in Maine. And that nobody tries to steal our money or your client's money. Sometimes we feel like we're catching tennis balls. We're on the other side of one of those tennis ball machines, because people with the stuff is coming at us quickly and daily. So
Thank you.
that's all I got to say. Thanks, Joanne.
Thanks, Jim. So I can see a few questions popping in. Sarah, you had a question regarding, once we finalize our remote online notarization and we adhere our seal, what happens next? Is that when you go on record? And short answer is yes. We utilize for about 97% of our transactions Simplifile, which is electronic recording. And for those that, for whatever reason, can't be electronically recorded, we have been given special endorsements to our title policies from our underwriters in the event that there's a delay in recording, because we have to make an appointment with the registry. So that's how we're handling that. And then with regard to all lenders being on board for e-signing, so there are two different, things there. Is some lenders, and Mark will probably talk about, Mark, I'm totally queuing this up for you. Mark will probably talk about their e-closing platform and capabilities. When I speak to you about remote online notarization, it's just that. It's conducting the notarization on a video call. It's being recorded, it's secure, and that is being done in accordance with the governor's executive order in the state of New Hampshire. There are some lenders who will allow us to conduct e-signing on some of their documents that don't require notarization, but not all. So it is a case by case with each lender.
Probably, though, it won't be for much longer, really, right?
No, we're excited. We are really excited about this change, because we have been serving so many customers in this way for probably, the last 3 or 4 years, where the dynamics changed, and, you only have one party at closing, and so now this is great. The world really is flat, and people, unfortunately, as we all recall the big ceremony of the closing, that isn't what it used to be, and people are busy, and so it's nice to be convenient.
One other point there, even though Maine or none of the New England states has a a true remote online notarization. Here in New Hampshire, we're dealing with a temporary emergency executive order from the governor, which is a beautiful thing. But there are about 26 states in the union that that do have a complete remote online notarization authorization, statute authorizing full remote online notarizations. We're still dealing nationally with issues relating to wet signatures on the primary instruments, deeds, mortgages, and notes. But Congress is probably going to solve that. So just as an FYI, there's a bill introduced in the House and in the Senate. We're talking at the U.S. House and Senate. They're essentially parallel bills that would provide for a national remote online notarization system. I would expect, my personal view is, I mean, what do I know? I'm not in Washington. It would make great sense for Congress to do that. And I'm certain President Trump would sign something like that because it just creates such efficiencies for businesses. So we'll be watching for that too. We get bulletins daily from the American Land Title Association. That's our industry group of insurance underwriters, attorneys, title operations, et cetera, that are in this business. And so we'll be watching that closely. And so we may see it at a national level rather than the state level.
Great. Excellent. Joe, you want to just handle Sarah's follow-up question?
Yes. So Sarah, it depends. It depends on whether or not we are in receipt of the seller's deed and what type of transaction it is and who the lender is. But if, let's just take it's a finance transaction and we have met remote online notarization with the buyer and they have executed the documents on video and we have the recording, if we're in possession of the seller's deed, the keys can be transferred. If we are not in possession of the seller's deed, then they cannot be, we're closing in what we refer to as escrow. And then once we receive the original document from the seller, keys can be exchanged. And for all of you on this call, your title manager, regional title manager would love to go over this transaction by transaction with not only you, but also your clients to really explain how this closing is going to work.
Great.
Okay.
Nice. And if there's any other follow-up questions after the call, right, you can always send them directly to Joanne or Jim or Mark, and we'll make sure everyone's email address is available. So great. Mark McCauley. So
hey, Chris.
Mark is the VP for CMG Mortgage and runs this region. And you know, we've been really fortunate to have Mark and his team as our partner, our mortgage partner, for many, many years. So he'll bring us up to date on what's happening in underwriting and everything else we need to know.
How you doing, Chris? Can you hear me all right?
Yep, good.
Good. So first of all, hello everybody, and I hope everybody is staying healthy through these trying times. I know it's really crazy. Before I get into sort of a couple notes I have, and I'll talk about e-closings and so forth with Great East Mortgage and how we handle it. I guess I'll just let you know. I heard Joanne and Jim talk a little bit about we're trying to run businesses we normally would, and that's really a fact. I will tell you, although all of our offices are closed and everybody is working from home, we're not missing a beat right now. In fact, I might even suggest that we're more productive, as crazy as that sounds. People are able to work, and because we are so busy and so sort of tied into all these changes and really wanting to ensure that we're doing a great job, I think people are really focused right now. And so one of the things that we're talking to people about is, I was running some numbers before the call. Someone asked me, how many loans have you lost in the last 2 weeks as a result of anything virus related, specifically jobs as a result of the virus? And over the last 2 weeks, we've lost 11 loans whereby the borrower in some way, shape, or form has intimated to us or in the process of doing a verification of employment 11 folks in the last 2 weeks have either withdrawn or been declined. 8 of those are purchases. And, you know, when you look at that and you hear that number, it's a little scary. But what I would say to each of you is a lot of what we're doing right now on the sales side is to talk to people about just how great a time it is to take advantage of the lowest rates in almost the history of mortgage banking. And that this is short term. I don't know if it's 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. I certainly hope for the 30. But if you're just not comfortable right now selling your house or buying a new property, you will be at some point in the next 30 to 60 days. So why not put everything together now so that we can put you in a position to either sell and buy the house that you want when this ends, or if you're a buyer who's renting and looking to buy in the very near future, let's go through the pre-approval process now. Let's put you in a place where when this ends, you're ready to go out and make offers. I firmly believe that as we sort of get over the curve here, and I think we all start to feel a sense that this is coming to an end and we see a light at the end of the tunnel, it's almost going to be mass hysteria in a good way. People are going to be so excited. I see a lot of you that are outside. It's a beautiful day. Why wouldn't you want to be? And as we get through this, and we will, people are really going to be out there excited to buy houses and sell their houses. So let's use this time now to put them in a position to do that. Regarding e-closings, I will tell you that prior to the virus, we didn't do them. We had no real need to. We sell directly to the agencies. And so there wasn't a big demand for it, and be quite candid about it, as I'm sure Joe and Jim could tell you. There are different guidelines depending on the lender or whether you go direct to Fannie, Freddie, or Ginnie. But that's all changed now, as many things have. And so we do e-closings. We still are at a point, because it's so new, where we have to have documents still signed by the borrower. There's a handful of them, the note, the mortgage, and so forth. But for the most part, it is a true e-closing. And I will tell you that we are probably a week or two away from taking advantage of the notarization that Jim and Joe referred to that we can do in New Hampshire. But make no mistake about it, we are able to do essentially an e-closing where they will sign, very much like they sign our disclosures, which is just simply going online. We email it to them and they click their name and they e-sign, and then we figure out a way to get them to sign what we call wet signatures on a couple of the documents that are remaining. So we're probably a week or so away from having a complete e-signature package, and by then, hopefully we'll be through this. So that addresses that. A couple other things, and I guess I've said this in a few of my videos. Be very careful about the lender you're working with right now. It really matters not how long you've worked with them. There are some lenders that have very well-known names to each of you on this call that no longer do government loans. I got an email from one of my loan officers on Saturday that someone that was looking for a VA loan, and it was a lender that they had used in their other mortgages, no longer was offering VA loans. You guys would all know the name. The same holds true for FHA and in some cases bond loans, that being Maine State Housing and New Hampshire Housing. It's temporary. I can't tell you how long it'll last. I will tell you that CMG and Great East Mortgage have made 0 changes. We offer every program today that we offered a month ago or 2 months ago. We have made 0 credit score changes. The other thing that you may see is relative to government loans. Some of the lenders out there have increased the FICO score requirement to a point where FHA or VA, because it's a 640, 660, or even a 680 minimum credit score requirement, it will take a lot of borrowers out of that market. So ask the right questions of whatever lender you're working with before you go into contract, or should I say before they make mortgage application, to ensure you're not going to have delays. The other part is appraisals. I've talked about this on a number of occasions. We do have the ability to do an exterior appraisal. We do have the ability to do a desk review. I've talked about that. The only change since the last time I was here was the automated underwriting engines for both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So when we take a loan, we run it through our system like everybody else does, and we get what we call underwriting findings. And part of those findings tell us what we can do for an appraisal. And in some instances, we can get what we call a property inspection waiver, which is exactly that. There is no appraisal requirement. There is no exterior or desk review requirement. It's just simply they accept value as is. I think you're all familiar with a property inspection waiver, but what you need to be aware of again is, much like the exterior or the desk review, is we need to let you, your buyer, and ultimately you're going to want to let obviously the seller know, if you happen to represent them, that there is a waiver in place. They have tweaked the underwriting engine so that more loans qualify for the property inspection waiver, which, based on some of the handicaps out there for appraisers getting into properties, is a good thing. But we talked last time how if there are improvements made to the interior of the property, and they can't go in to see it, or we get a property inspection waiver and they don't have to go in, you know, sometimes value may be an issue. So just be aware of that. And I guess the last thing that I would say is, from a CMG Great East Mortgage standpoint, operationally, our back office is in a great spot. We were in a really good spot coming into this crisis in terms of our turn times. As you guys all well know that have worked with us, everything we do is here. And I mean here as in the state of New Hampshire or Maine. We originate, process, underwrite, and close everything here. And we're in a great spot today. In fact, our underwriting turn times are still at 24 hours, which, if you've heard any of the other big banks out there, they're at 3 to 4 weeks to get through a loan, because they were really taking in refis at a pace that they just aren't able to offer a level of service. So we're in a good spot there. So I don't know if there are, oh, we do have some questions. At this point in time, the government loans do not qualify for the workaround, although, much like we've talked about, that changes from minute to minute. So I would not be surprised if you're going to start to see some of the government loans and even the bond loans go the direction of either a waiver or a exterior only.
And Rochelle had a question about drive-by and desk appraisals.
So yeah, not on government loans, but yes, we can do on the drive-by or desk review. What happens is there are 3 circumstances. One is the seller says, I cannot let you into my property. Obviously it's health related, or something has occurred in the household where they just don't want to let anybody in. Secondly, the appraiser makes an attempt to go to the property, but he just can't get in. Maybe he got sick. And then thirdly, we can't find an appraiser to go to the property. If any of those 3 occur, we immediately go to either a exterior only or a desk review. And again, that's where we're going to come to you and let you know that, because as far as the underwriting, the automated underwriting decision we got, it wanted us to do a full appraisal, but because of the circumstances we're in today, we cannot. And that's where you're going to want to have consultation with your buyers specifically to let them know that this will be an exterior or a desk review valuation. I can tell you we've had no issues with valuation to this point, but it is something that you'll want to have a conversation with your buyer about.
Great. Excellent. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Chris.
Ed, did you want to ask what you and I were talking about this morning?
So yes, thank you. Mark, I was curious, what kind of advice or service can our people offer with Great East Mortgage to buyers that are either, let's say, furloughed or experiencing decrease in income right now, but otherwise would normally be out in the market today? What can you do to help them? What's your advice to the agents?
So, you know, well, a couple things, I guess, Ed. If the buyer is still interested in moving forward, we can use the income that they're getting, whether the hours were cut in half, whether they're now getting unemployment, and if they still qualify, we'll be able to do the loan. If they've really sort of stepped back a little bit and said, you know, I want to buy a house, or I want to sell my house and buy a house, but now's not the right time, I sort of go to what I said earlier, which is, this is not going to last forever. We'll get back to some sense of normalcy as we move forward. Put yourself in a position today to be ready to go because I don't know that anybody on this call would doubt that there will be such a pent-up demand for buyers and sellers when we get there. I mean, the fact that the weather is nice today and we all want to be outside is sort of like what it's going to feel like when we get through this virus and people realize, okay, now I'm going to sell my house. Okay, now I'm going to buy my house. You don't have to wait until they say, okay, now I'm ready. Financially, put them in a position now. Let them talk to someone at Great East Mortgage to go through everything so that they are ready to make an offer when they're comfortable and or when their job comes back. And the same thing holds true with the seller as well.
Nice.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Ed.
Thanks, Ed.
Guys, Ed's our Vice President of Sales. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, well, I think that's it. We're trying to keep these down to about 30 to 40 minutes. So just a couple closing remarks for you. So, you know, you always try to identify the knowns, right? So here's what we know. We know we're in it. And everything we're doing is about providing you the resources that you need while we're in this period of time. The other known we have is that it's going to end. And although we don't know exactly when it's going to end, we know it's going to end at some point in the not too distant future. And we're planning for that now. So a lot of what you'll be seeing from marketing and what Angela was talking about, these are all initiatives to help everybody be prepared, because like Mark said, on the other end of this, there will be some pent up demand. And so this is about planning for the future. So we know we're in it. And so we're bringing resources to get us through it. And then we also know that it's going to end. And we're bringing you resources so that you're prepared when it ends for business to pick up as normal. So you guys are doing an amazing job. Like I said, so good to be with all of you. And we'll have another call on Thursday. So take care. Until then, bye.